So in this video, I'll be talking about some of the components that I've been making in order to improve the look of the kit when it's finally constructed. Now, you may remember in an earlier video, I talked about these. There's three of these. These are the brake clutch and accelerator operating levers. You remember I said they were a bit one dimension, as you can see there. And in the end, I decided that these had to go and I would make new ones. So here they are. I've made a new, that's actually the brake, a new brake, a new accelerator, and a new clutch. These aren't finished because they need to be adjusted, as you'll see in a second when I put them on here. So these generally go on a shaft on the gearbox. So you can see 1, 2, and let's get that one. 3. This one is sticking out a little bit too far. They've all got to be sized for final fitting. So there's the new brake clutch and accelerator pedals. Now, you will no doubt remember, I'm just going to take this piece of masking tape off here. You will remember that I'd made the springs but had done virtually no assembly. I'd made all the leaves, in fact, and put these ends on. So as you can see now, I've put the little clamps that sit on the springs. Here's an original spring for comparison. So you can see the little clamps that go on there, just get the light right. And the other thing I've done is I've made new, let's just take one off, I've made new clamps, and these are made out of, I think it's 1.5 millimeter square brass rod. So there you go, so that's the spring now finished. They have been tried and fitted on the axle, which is another issue, but I'll come to that next. So this is the front axle that comes with the car. As you can see, it's a plastic axle. You'd expect it to be round, but at the other side it's not for whatever reason. But there it is, that's the axle. And then onto that you have these components. This may be on the wrong side, but it doesn't matter, which kind of go on there, and you know, you fit the stub axles onto this end, and then you've got this steering component. So there's another one here which goes on the other side. Let me just push that on. It's all a bit flimsy at the end of the day, and as you can see, these again are very two-dimensional, whereas on the real car, again, they would have been a casting. And then you've got the steering arm which connects the two wheels going between there, and at the bottom here would be the connection to the steering box. And one of the things I talked about in an earlier video is just how these clamps go onto here, and hopefully you can see that, you know, they move up and down because they're oversized for the material that's in use. So I decided after a lot of thought to get rid of that. So I put that to one side, and I built myself a brass axle. So here it is. This is the replacement axle. This is the front of it. I've replicated all the fixings. So for example, these fixings here, and you can see a fixing hole going through there that put various bits and pieces on. And then I've made 2 new stub axles. So here they are. So there's one, you can see. I will be using the original components from the car for the rest of this. One of the things I have to do in each of these is drill some small holes around the outside to fix the rear of the brake drum too. And I've got to do that on both sides, but there are the two axles, and you can see that they, let's put one on, you can see it clearer, that they actually taper outwards, so the wheels slope inwards at the bottom, and I've got the 2 of those all completely finished now. almost ready for paint. And then to facilitate the steering, I've made this component. So this one will go on this side. These have not been fettled and made to the right length yet. So that will go on there to facilitate the steering. As you can see, there are no ends on these, so these are unfinished. And for the other side, which has only got a single component on it, that's the bit that goes on the other side, and will fit through that hole at the bottom, and we'll steer that once it's on the car. So that's the new front axle and all the components. That's almost ready for paint. I've got to do some work on just tidying up the ends of these two components and fitting the appropriate joints on them, and then that will be those finished. You'll recall from an earlier video that I'd taken this component, which is the rear of the car, and I filed off pretty pathetic looking little nuts that were on there. This component goes on there, and what you often see on the real car, in fact you see on most of the cars, are little square nuts that hold this component on. In fact, there's a number, the front of the radiator is held on the same way. And then a locking wire is put between them so that, you know, they don't come loose basically. And what I've been doing is building some very small and very difficult to make little square nuts. So what you have there, you can see the addition, I've additionally chrome plated these, because on most of the cars that I've seen, they have been chrome plated. So what you can see here is the little nut. I'll just turn it over. It's got a round washer affixed to it, although it's not that clear. And these will be going, I'll just put one in for demonstration purpose if I can get hold of it in the right way. And these will be going in there. It's not lined up properly. Oh, there's one I'm going to have to go and find. It's fallen on the floor. Put one in. So they will be going. Right, that's it. On there. There's a slight problem at the moment, and the plastic is not fixed, and they're not aligning properly. But hopefully you can see the little nut. What you probably can't see, just because it's very difficult to get the definition on this, although you might be able to just see it there, is in fact a very small hole through that 1.5mm bit of square rod, which is where the locking wire will go. Okay, so no panic. I just got on my hands and knees and found the small piece that I dropped. You can see here I've made about 40 of these things. It doesn't look like 40, but I can assure you it is. I just thought I'd give you a quick explanation of how I made these. So basically I started off with a small bit of, I think it's 1.5mm, it might be 2mm square bar. I put that in a 4-jaw chuck in my lathe and turned down a shaft on one end. And then I took a 12BA washer and I shoved that on the end. And in fact here you can see a little piece that was turned down, and hopefully you can see the washer that is soldered on the end. What I then do is I grip this end in a pin vise and cut it to length. All very fiddly, I can assure you. And you end up with basically this, but without the hole. So the next thing to do basically, and I haven't done it on this one, is to drill a hole through the centre, and the hole is 0.8mm. I tend to start it by hand because I find that's the most accurate way to do it. And then I have a very slow speed little drill that I made, and I drill through it. Then after a good clean and a little bit of chemical treatment, mostly by being given ultrasonic cleaning vinegar, I put a piece of wire through the hole, dip that into my nickel plating tank, and nickel plate the component so that it's nice and shiny. So that's how I make or have made these little components. And that's all for now. Watch out for the next video. Talk to you soon.